Hello, everyone. It's Rachel. So glad you're here. Today, we're going to build up your personal economist toolkit. We're talking about the basic fundamental tools of analysis, the stuff you absolutely have to know. And trust me, you'll need this for your exams for sure, but also just for making sense of the economic world around you. Ready? Let's jump right in. All right, so you might be thinking, why is this so important? Well, think about it. Economics is all about data, right? We're talking prices, production numbers, income. It's everywhere. And without the right tools, all of that is just a big, confusing mess of numbers. But once you master these tools, it's like finding the key that unlocks everything else in economics. Seriously, from understanding supply and demand all the way to calculating national income. And here's the deal. You really need to pay attention to this part. Each of your exams, WAEC, JAMB, NECO, they all have their own little quirks, their own style. WAEC, they're going to ask you to explain things, maybe even construct a table or graph. JAMB, they love speed. It's all about those multiple choice questions, quick identification, simple calculations. And then you have NECO, which mixes theory with real practical data. The bottom line is, if you get these fundamental tools down, you'll be ready for anything they can throw at you. You'll be prepared. Okay, let's get into our first tool. Now, this is something you've definitely seen before, but don't underestimate it. It's super powerful. We're talking about the simple but essential table. So, what's a table's main job? Honestly, it's to bring order to chaos. You take a bunch of data, arrange it systematically into nice, neat rows and columns, and boom, all that complex information suddenly becomes easy to read, easy to understand, and this is the most important part, easy to compare. Just look at this example here, a family's monthly budget. Right away, you can see exactly where their money is going. The biggest expense? Food, followed by rent. See how that works? By organizing the data with clear labels like item and amount and giving us that total at the bottom, the table takes what was just a list of expenses and turns it into a crystal clear financial snapshot. That's the power of a good table. All right, tool number 2. Let's take that nice organized data we just talked about and make it even easier to understand. How? By making it visual. And that, my friends, is where graphs and charts come into play. Okay, so 2 of the big ones you'll see all the time are the bar chart and the pie chart. Now, the most important thing to remember is that they do different jobs. You use a bar chart when you need to compare things, like comparing how much yam was produced versus how much rice. But you use a pie chart when you want to show proportions, how a single whole thing is broken down into parts or percentages. And here we go. A perfect example. With this bar chart, you can see in a split second that yam production is the highest. And you can also see that rice and maize production are exactly the same. The height of each bar gives you that instant visual comparison. It's so much faster than trying to read all that in a boring paragraph, right? Now, let's look at a pie chart doing its thing. This one shows where government revenue comes from. And wow, that huge slice, 60%, comes from oil. Taxes make up about a quarter of it, and then you have that little sliver for everything else. It instantly shows you how each part relates to the whole picture. Super clear. All right, on to our third and final tool for today. We're going to dip our toes into the world of basic stats. Now, don't worry, it sounds scarier than it is. We're talking about measures of central tendency, which is just a fancy way of saying averages. So there are 3 main types of average you absolutely have to know. First up is the mean. This is the one you probably think of when you hear average. You just add up all the numbers and divide by how many there are. Simple. But what if you have one really high or really low number that throws everything off, an outlier? Well, that's where the median is super useful. It's literally the middleman, once you put all the data in order so it doesn't get messed up by those extreme values. And finally, we have the mode. The mode is just the most popular kid in class. It's the value that shows up most often. It's great for seeing what's most common. Okay, knowing the theory is great, but putting it into practice, that's the real test, isn't it? So let's do just that. We're going to tackle some real exam-style questions so you can see exactly how these tools show up when it counts. First up, let's look at a theory question, the kind of thing you totally see on your WAEC exam. You know the ones, they love to ask you to explain things, maybe even construct a table or graph. All right, let's break this question down. It's got two parts, right? First, you got to define what a table is. Second, you need to list 4 key features of a good table. So, based on what we just went over, how would you start tackling this question? Here's exactly how you nail this question. For the definition, keep it simple and clear. It's a systematic arrangement of data in rows and columns. Done. Then, for the characteristics, just think logically. What makes a table easy to understand? Well, it needs a clear title, right? It needs proper headings for the rows and columns. You got to state the units of measurement. Is it naira, kilograms? And of course, the numbers should be neat and tidy with a total if you need one. See? Simple, logical, straight to the point. Okay, let's switch gears. Time for a JAM-style question. Now, you know how these work. They're usually multiple choice and they're all about speed and accuracy. You have to think fast. Take a look at this one. Read those options carefully. 3 of them are those measures of central tendency we just talked about. One of them is the odd one out. Which one doesn't belong? And the answer is D, range. And here's why. It's super important to get this straight. Mean, median, and mode all tell you something about the center of the data. But range tells you about the spread of the data. It's the difference between the highest and lowest values. So it's a measure of dispersion, not central tendency. That's the key difference. All right, last one, let's wrap up with a NECO-style question. And for this one, you're going to have to do a little bit of calculation, which is something they love to test. So here's the data we're working with. 7 different student scores in economics. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find the mean, the median, and the mode. This is a classic, a total classic. It tests all 3 of your calculation skills in one go. Let's walk through the solution step by step. Now, what's the very first thing you do? You arrange the data in order from smallest to largest. You absolutely have to do this to find the median, so don't forget. Okay, for the mean, we add up all the scores, divide by 7, and we get 72.14. Easy enough. For the median, now that our numbers are in order, we just find the one smack dab in the middle, which is the 4th number, 70. And finally, the mode. We just scan the list for the number that appears the most, and that's 65. It shows up twice. See, you got this. Great work. Whew, we have covered a lot today. But before we wrap up, let's do a super quick recap of the most important points, just to make sure all this knowledge is locked in and ready for your exams. Okay, remember these key tips. For JAMB, it's a race against the clock, so speed and accuracy are everything. You have to drill those definitions until they're second nature. For WAEC and NECO, it's more about showing your understanding, so practice writing out your explanations clearly. Oh, and here's a golden rule. For any exam, for any graph you ever draw, always label your axes. Seriously, it's such an easy mark to get and an even easier one to lose if you forget. And one last thing, a super simple memory trick, so you never get these mixed up again. Just remember the 3 M's. Mean is your mathematical average, median is the middleman, and mode is the most popular. Got it? The 3 M's, use that and you'll be golden. And that is all we have for today. I really hope you found this helpful. If you did, do me a favor and hit that like button, share this with your friends, and of course, subscribe to our channel. And for tons more practice questions, make sure you visit www.examkp.com. Keep up the amazing work, and I will see you in the next lesson.